We are coming to you live because we have breaking news in East Harris County where we're getting reports of a fire at the Fairfield Inn and Suites, and we've just also learned that there was a fire there previously in March.
Let's go ahead and take a look. We have a couple of cameras here. The first one from TransStar showing the actual fire, which you can see here going eastbound, East Harris County area. And you're going to be able to see that Fairfield Inn and Suites, that the smoke is getting a bit grayer, but you can see flames still coming out of that massive hotel. And Steph mentioned that there was a fire just a couple of weeks ago, because currently, at least according to Google, this is temporarily closed, perhaps because of the fire that was reported and that we've confirmed from a couple of weeks ago. Perhaps not, but we believe, we hope, because that would be great news, Steph.
Yes.
If this hotel was currently unoccupied.
And we do have video cut from what it looked like when we first got reports about 9 o'clock this morning.
Wow.
That's what the flames looked like about 25 minutes ago. And then we just showed you the live TransStar camera showing you that the smoke has now turned gray. And whenever you can see through the smoke, that is a great indication that we're getting things under control. As of right now, we don't believe that there are any lanes blocked on the East Freeway in either direction. However, when you see a plume of smoke that large in the air, it's going to be a visual distraction. It's going to cause some rubbernecking, and we were speaking with AAA earlier this morning, Doug Shoup, and confirmed it is the busiest travel day on the roads of the holiday weekend, so not a good time to have something like this. We do want to go to a phoner with witness Earl on the phone. Earl, can you hear us? Earl?
Yes, I'm here.
Earl, okay, what did you see? We're looking at video from when it really was going raging here at the Fairfield Inn. What happened?
I can't tell you. I just looked over there and I saw the roof was on fire, and we watched it for a few minutes, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and now the whole roof is caved in on it.
Wow.
They're pouring, their ladder trucks are just pouring it with water, but it's a total.
The roof has caved in, he says, which would make a lot of sense because of what we saw in the video a bit earlier. About when did this start, Earl?
I noticed it about 9, maybe a little bit after 9 o'clock this morning.
Earl, where are you now? Are you at work? Is that where you are, where you can see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I've got a repair shop just right. I'm less than maybe 1,000 yards from it.
Okay, we mentioned earlier, Earl, that there was another fire at that same facility in March. Did you see that fire as well?
That one I did not. I saw the aftermath of it, but I didn't see the actual fire then.
So there was a fire. We did confirm that there was a fire there. As far as you know, is this hotel unoccupied at the moment?
So as far as I know, because from the previous fire, the probably a third of the rear of the roof was burned off.
Oh wow!
From the previous fire, and they had everything boarded up, so I assume it was empty.
Are you seeing right now? Can you still, as you're speaking with us, can you see any emergency crews responding to the scene? And can you tell us what you're seeing right now?
Yeah, there's fire trucks and ladder trucks and policemen. They're all blocking these roads around here, and the ladder trucks are spraying water on it. I see 2 ladder trucks and then some other water spraying from the ground up to it.
Okay.
Earl, this is so helpful information-wise. We're looking at an image from TransStar which shows the smoke coming from the Fairfield Inn. Now, I believe, Kat, this must be a live image from the ground. Is that right? Okay, all right.
Yes.
So we're now seeing, Earl, what he was describing, which are the ladder trucks. Yeah, there's no roof. The roof is caved in.
It's completely gone.
Yeah, and it's still on fire. There's still some black smoke, but less of a, as Steph was saying, distraction, because the smoke is much different now. But what a relief to find out how different this story would be if there were a ton of people in here. Yes. Such good information, Earl.
And then Earl.
Yeah, it would have been bad if it had been full of people.
Earl, are you able to also see and tell us, are there any roads blocked off in the area or in front of your repair shop?
As parts of my repair shop is on Sheldon Road, and they've blocked off some of the traffic on Sheldon Road, but Interstate 10 right next to me, I can see the traffic still moving there.
Okay, that's some good news. Okay, Earl, you've been so helpful. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Sure.
So we've got
No problem.
photographer Rolando on the ground getting us these images. We showed you the TransStar camera and the footage from earlier. Devon Raming is also on his way. And once again, so if you're just joining us here, almost 9:30, we've learned that the Fairfield Inn and Suites in Channelview or East Harris County caught fire around 9 o'clock today. And it was such a massive fire that the roof caved in entirely. And you saw the damage there, and we're looking at it live. We also learned, and Earl helped us understand the scenario, that just a month and a half or so ago, this same Fairfield Inn caught fire. And so perhaps you could say, thankfully, as a result, this was unoccupied. Nobody living there right now.
Yes, and as we're taking a look live here, we can see some fire crews walking back and forth. They don't appear to be in a hurry, so sometimes that's good news. They're professionals, so they have to stay calm. But we don't like to see running firefighters. Cheetah Craft joining us now. Cheetah, it's always good to get a perspective on wind speeds in that area. And we just recently had a fire, and I loved your perspective when you were talking about fires creating their own wind. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So every fire, as it sparks, within that fire, they can create their own wind. So that sometimes makes it a little bit more difficult to get containment. But when you're looking at wind more in the upper levels of the atmosphere, so we're tracking winds overall that are mostly calm, but see, they're driving out of the southeast. Now, I don't know if we're able to, as we're looking at the winds, can we also pop up the live image of the smoke? Because when I was watching that live camera feed, the smoke is all going in one direction. So it's good that they're getting containment on that fire. And again, when a fire immediately happens, it can create its own wind, and sometimes that makes it a little bit more difficult. But in this situation today, winds are all less than 10 miles per hour. Winds are all driving in from the southeast to the northwest. So you're going to see that plume of smoke as it continues to kind of billow up in to the mid layers of the atmosphere. It's all going to take that one directional turn. Notice what's happening here. Again, winds are driving from the southeast to the northwest, and that's why all that smoke is heading in the same direction. Now, every now and then with that live image, you could see the clouds that are in place. Sometimes because the winds are calm, some of the clouds can kind of trap some of that smoke, so you can kind of see it lingering for even hours after the fire is completely put out. But with winds that are mostly calm, hopefully that'll continue to help firefighters continue to get containment. Smoke is going in one direction. It's just how long that smoke will linger. And usually with clear skies, see, that smoke is able to kind of lift into the mid, upper levels of the atmosphere. It continues to thin and spread on out. But sometimes with cloud cover, especially low clouds, we had some low cloud ceilings early this morning, it can trap a little bit of that smoke. But guys, it actually is good news in the situation of getting containment on a fire when you have winds less than 10 miles per hour. But I'll continue to watch this.
Absolutely, and thank you for that perspective. We also have Jen here. Jen is talking about potential for road closures. We haven't seen, Jen, at least the freeway doesn't appear to be affected by this. We know that's possible. But maybe some of the side streets.
Yeah, I mean, no, the highway is definitely impacted. We have slow-going conditions, but yes, not closed. I'm going to head to that side of town so you can get a glimpse of where we are talking about. This is going to be I-10 right at Sheldon, and both directions hugging between the East Sam Houston Tollway out toward Highlands on both sides of the highway. It is costing drivers maybe 5-6 extra minutes as everybody's rubbernecking. You guys alerted to that earlier when you were talking with our guests. So our Houston TransStar latest view is right here of Fairfield Inn, so you can see how sluggish things are. If you want to avoid Sheldon, just work your way to the East Sam Houston Tollway, which is running really well, but that feeder road would be one to avoid because we need the space for emergency crews, and all side streets that hug this area should be avoided, so right near I-10 and Sheldon. But if you're taking the East Sam Houston Tollway, you'll be okay. I did want to show you what it looks like from our Dale camera. You can see how slow going things are on the main main lanes, but luckily no main lanes in this area have been blocked. So traffic is just, like I said, sluggish. They're just taking a look because it was such a distraction. Looking from our East Sam Houston tollway camera, this is what it looks like off in the distance. You can still see that huge plume of smoke that Steph Jacob were talking about earlier. How's the drive time impacted? Well, it is one of the slowest drive times right now in from Baytown. If downtown Houston is your final destination, 27 minutes. You can see that's where the red is on our traffic map. There are also delays, just FYI for my East Siders, on 146 as you approach the 225 corridor. I'll send it back to you guys.
Jen, just wanted to mention, 'cause that was the first time that we had seen the other TransStar camera, which allows us to see the backup, which makes so much sense. I couldn't even tell, actually, from the original TransStar that it had affected traffic, but clearly, yeah, as you see, really just slowing down to look at what the heck is going on. I do that. We all kind of do that.
Yeah, we do, and sometimes you don't need to have any lanes blocked to have that backup. Jen, we'll check back in with her in just a little bit, but as she said, the East Beltway is looking okay, and unfortunately, that's a chunk of land in between where you don't have an alternate route that's very close, so you want to take East Beltway to 225 and go through Industrial Row there, but man, what a headache for folks. That's an area that you can use to, who knows where folks are going for the holiday weekend, but that is a route to get to Lake Charles, which could be a popular destination. And this is a time people want to get out before noon, and the traffic really gets thick there. So let's go live to our crew on the ground. And we have just gotten some new information here where we've learned that the fire has now burned through the entire third floor. This looks way better than it did 30 minutes ago, but you can see, as we are looking at this, you can see part of the roof collapsed right in front of us. Crews attacking the flames there from several different directions. There was a thick black plume of smoke about 30 minutes ago, so it is turning like a dusty gray color, which is a good color we'd like to see, where they're getting it under control, but we don't want to use the word contained yet.
What a relief that nobody was in there, as far as we know, unoccupied because of a fire from earlier, but the entire roof is gone. It's burned through the third floor. This is an image here from our photographer, Rolando. Rolando has been there now for 15 minutes or so. The fire started around 9 o'clock. Chopper now overhead showing us what is grayish, whitish smoke. Oh, man. Yeah, remember when Jen was talking about the freeway? Now you can see the winds that Cheetah was talking about.
Yes, so Cheetah had said the winds are coming from the southeast and pushing to the northwest, and she said roughly 10 miles an hour or less. So that's good news when we're talking about a fire and winds carrying that smoke over, but it is enough to travel over the lanes of the East Freeway. So, you know, the folks who are driving or in the car, they don't necessarily know what's going on unless they're listening to the radio and they're able to get updates. But when you travel through something like that, it's very scary because it's not instinct to say, oh, it's white smoke, I'm sure it's okay. They're thinking, what's going on and what am I driving into?
Right.
So the lanes are open, but just avoid that area right now until we can actually use the word containment. So we've got a crew on the ground here. We've got Air 11 on the scene, and those crews really working away. And we believe it is Channelview Fire Department responding to this activity.
Part of the reason that the wind speed matters so much, look how close the next hotel is right there next to it. You can imagine when it was really going, the thick black smoke, if the wind had been moving just opposite, that it would be really easy for embers and other stuff to get from the one hotel to the other. You know what I wonder here, looking how close that other hotel is if they have decided to evacuate, they sometimes do this, the surrounding buildings. So you see that there's one there. This also looks like this Fairfield Inn is close to the San Jacinto Mall, River Terrace Golf Course, Houston Raceway. This is, again, the Channelview area, East Harris County, that we know of. There aren't any evacuations as a result. It does look much better than it did 40 minutes ago. Wow, it was really raging before. On your left is the live look from the ground. You see all of the crews, you see them spraying the water, and on the right, of course, Steph, is Air 11.
Yes, and we spoke with a witness who owns a repair shop close by that area. His name was Earl. We really appreciate him calling in to us. He did say that Sheldon Road in front of his repair shop is currently shut down and blocked as emergency crews respond to this fire. but as of right now, I-10 is open, but it's going to be slow going, as Jen showed us that really, really miserable backup. Not only are folks getting out of town on this Friday for the holiday weekend, but that is also just a major distraction as you're driving on the road, and people, it can cause concern. They don't know what they're driving into or where the smoke is coming from if they're already in their cars.
It does look like, if I'm looking at this right, Steph, the emergency cars that are there, it looks like just the feeder maybe. I don't know if that's where you would get onto the freeway, but they've blocked that area, whatever that road is.
Yeah, Jen, it is. It's the service
the
road.
one that Jen was talking about?
Jen just mentioned to stay
okay.
away from the service road because they need that readily available for emergency crews, and more than likely it's probably blocked at this point, but you don't want to take it anyway.
I mean, this is just it's such a lot. Everything here is gone. You know, of course, the water that they're putting on it, it's getting. The whole building is easily a loss. The whole roof is gone. Earl was describing how he watched that happen. We have no idea how this started, but again, this is the second fire apparently in 2 months.
Yes, and that's what's particularly interesting. We were trying to go through our information here and look further into the fire that happened in March, and if there's a connection between this fire and that fire. We're not able to draw that correlation at this point. We don't know what caused the first fire as well, so we're continuing to gather information, but we do know the fire in March, everyone was evacuated there, and that it could possibly still be temporarily closed because of that fire, but I'm careful with my wording because we aren't able to confirm anything at this point.
So we talked earlier with a witness on the phone, Earl. We have another one now on the phone, Maya. Maya, we understand you're actually staying at the hotel next door?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so tell us what it looks like right now. We also have a live image. And go ahead.
Well, I apologize not to cut you off, but right now, I know for sure we were able to see like the top of the building from the motel, but now we literally don't see nothing. And I know that I see a whole bunch of white smoke. And when I first seen it, it was just like one side where a window was at first, and then I turned around, walked to my a friend's room, and by the time I turned around again, like the whole roof was just off on fire. So.
Wow. Now, if you're in the next door hotel, have they told you anything there from hotel staff or asked you guys to get out or anything like that?
No, they haven't.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I pretty much caught it before they would have to tell us or something like that. I really don't know. I just know we actually did feel the heat from the fire for a minute.
You could feel the heat. Wow.
Yeah, literally. It was really hot too, actually. So.
And because you're close, I mean, we're talking. We see it now. There's a helicopter overhead, Maya, that is showing us the fire, and you can see how close you are. What is that hotel right next door? Where are you staying?
I'm staying at the Deluxe Inn.
Got it. Okay, got it.
And then Maya, can you describe? You said it was hot. Is it? Did you feel like you were sitting in front of a fireplace, or it was something more intense? Can you paint that picture for us?
Actually, I described it as being in the side of an oven, really.
Oh,
So
wow.
you can literally feel the heat from the fire.
Oh, wow, that's very scary. Did you see, well, glad you're okay and they haven't evacuated anyone in your facility. Were you able to see if anyone was running from the building or if anyone was walking out or being transported? We believe that there wasn't anyone inside, but we weren't sure about possible hotel staff.
No, actually, the building burned down before. I actually caught the building burning twice after the first time. And to be honest, I know for sure there was nobody in here this time, unless it was like one of the homeless people that's around here or something like that. I don't know. I'm not for sure. I just know I literally caught it before it like literally got bigger than what it was.
Yeah, you said you've seen this hotel burn twice before today?
Yes, it did. The first time before this time, when I caught it burning, it was just like a small area down on the bottom.
Yeah.
But then, and now after that, it was this one right here with the window, and it just caught bigger. So I know it pretty much caught fire faster than what it did or what it should, because it was burning off of old fumes. So.
Now, Maya, if you can paint this picture for us, when you first started looking at this building and you saw the initial flames, that happened, we got the first reports just roughly after 9 o'clock, so it's 9:43 right now. Can you describe what you first saw versus what you're seeing now and how the situation's sort of gotten under control?
Actually, yes, sure. Like I said, I seen the whole roof of the motel that's next door. It's like we have a bayou that's right in between us, so it was like trees and everything that's blocking part of the building, but we could still see the roof, like I said. And from the little part of the window that I seen burning on the back street side until now is like literally nothing. And we seen the side of the building falling and everything. And like I said, when I first seen it, it was like the windows were cracking, and I thought somebody was like breaking glass or something. But when I turned and looked, it was the building that was on fire.
Thank you for describing that for us, Maya. We're so glad that you're doing okay. A couple questions more that come to mind. One, can you tell, is there any way that you know where the fire might have started?
Well, when I started, I'm pretty sure where I was looking at, or I seen it first thing, which, like I said, is on the back street of the main street that I'm on. So it was on the back of the building.
On the back of the building.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the other question that comes to mind is there anyone, did anyone evacuate from the hotel where you are? Did anybody leave, or everybody looking at it, or what does that look like?
Yeah, actually, we were all outside looking at it. We were all actually outside reporting, and everybody felt the heat and everything from the fire. And it was a couple of people talking about it might come over here, and we probably might have to evacuate. But thank God the fire truck did show up finally and put it out. It took a minute for it to actually start going out when they were doing the water, but it's pretty much out so much as someone I could see. But like I said, I cannot see no part of the building at the top anymore.
Have police or fire crews asked you and other guests to go back into the building that you were in, or to stay back? Have any authorities said anything to you?
Actually, no, not at all. The only thing that came flying through here was the fire chief, and he just pulled in, backed in, took a video or a picture of what he was looking at, and which is the first side of the building that was burning. And after that, he just went and drove back out to the main street, and just pretty much, just sat there and did what he needed to do.
All right, Maya, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your experience. Again, if you're just tuning in, Maya, who is living just next door to this at the other hotel, watched this Fairfield Inn and Suites go up in flames, watched the roof cave in. It was so big, the fire, it was so hot that she could feel it next door. She and a lot of the others have come outside now to watch. The smoke initially so thick, so black, so many flames. The roof now gone, the smoke white. It's hard even to see from this angle. And you can see all the crews there. Well, no, you can see a couple, but in the back of the hotel, we could see from Air 11, there's several others. They really are dousing this. The good news, if you didn't know, if you weren't joining us at the beginning, it appears that this hotel is unoccupied because of a fire from a couple of months ago.
Yes. Okay. So we want to go back to Cheetah Craft, because Cheetah, when wind is a factor, this can go from calm to serious in an instant. Is that going to be something you anticipate now?
I'm not expecting that, and you're right. Wind speed can play a really big factor whenever you're talking about a fire. We've had really calm winds this morning. I will say the fact that the fire happened early rather than later, winds will be picking up in the afternoon hours, and that's common every day. Once we start heating up and the atmosphere starts heating up, it drives the wind a little bit stronger. Now, we're talking winds this morning less than 10 miles per hour, and mainly driving out of the southeast to the northwest. That's the overall direction with these winds. And again, all morning they've been less than 10 miles per hour. However, if that fire would have happened maybe this afternoon, you could have been dealing with winds maybe upwards of 15, maybe up to 20 miles per hour. But again, overall today, winds will be calm. Also, anytime we have a fire, I always look at air quality. I always want to see if smoke or anything is starting to play a factor, and it is not. The good news is air quality right now is, notice, all green here locally, and that's saying good air quality across the board. So that's usually the second thing that I check in anytime that there's a fire. But back to the wind, any of the live shots that we've been watching, you'll see how the smoke from that fire is going in one direction, and it's almost going right over the freeway. So yeah, I'm sure as those drivers are driving, they're looking at the smoke plume pretty much passing right over where they're driving. And at this point, because the winds are calm, sometimes that can lead to stagnant air as well. And with some clouds, it can trap some of that smoke. So maybe it takes a little bit longer for it to completely evaporate throughout the morning hours. But with that being said, eventually that smoke will start start to mix out into the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. Is there any way that we can show not only the winds, but maybe that live shot so I can give some perspective how the smoke is kind of driving in one direction? I know this is a ground view, so it may be hard, but yeah, there you go. So here you can see the smoke. It's, the brownish hue, especially compared to the cloud cover. But this is what I'm saying. Notice how it's pushing in one direction. What's interesting with the clouds just on top of it, at some point, clouds can actually help to trap a little bit of that smoke so it can carry a little bit lower into the lower levels of the atmosphere. This is a great vantage point from Air 11. Again, that smoke plume driving from where the fire started over the hotel and then continuing to push right along the freeway. However, notice even on this shot how the smoke continues to thin apart, and that's just kind of the natural mixing every day that we typically see. Now, winds are less than 10 miles per hour, so it's not a big factor, but as that smoke continues to move, it'll eventually start mixing out into the mid and then the upper levels of the atmosphere, and especially as they hopefully get better and better containment. But the good news is, guys, winds are calm. Typically, if we had an active fire still going on, I would show you how winds can actually mix, and within a fire, they can intensify themselves, not even factoring into the mid levels of the atmosphere. But it doesn't look like that's going to play a factor. The good news is winds are less than 10 miles per hour pretty much across the board.
Cheetah, can I ask you a follow-up question? Cheetah, if we could bring back up the Air 11 shot, we were just looking at how close the other hotel is right behind it. And just kind of imagining why winds could be a big deal. Let's say, the winds are 10, 15 miles an hour and they're moving to the east. It isn't, impossible to think that it would be moving embers and other stuff to that other building.
You're exactly right. Let's say we had more of a westerly wind, so the winds were driving west to east, so it would be kind of the opposite effect of what we're seeing. You're right, that could have pushed the smoke. Maybe some hot spots could have started just around this. Fires, when they become very active, which this was a very active scene about 40 minutes ago, that can easily jump to locations that are close by. The good news, that wasn't the case, and it does look like it stayed in this hotel proximity, but there is a lot, just in close proximity. This is a great shot from Air 11, and you can see how firefighters are fighting this from every angle, so they're really working hard to get containment. But with that being said, that smoke is still clearly and easily visible. So I know these cars that are driving are, watching and saying, what's going on? Is this going to impact me? And at this point, it does look pretty low to the surface. But again, just like the natural pollution we would put out, or just like the smoke here from this fire, eventually this will lift more into the mid and then upper levels of the atmosphere. It'll mix in with the cloud cover, and then the winds will help drive that and really thin it apart. And you can see this from this vantage point. Notice how thick it is, and then once it starts passing over the freeway, again, notice how thin this continues to become. And that's really common. This is typical. Now, because winds are so calm, sometimes that can lead to kind of stagnant air where it doesn't, rush in any one direction. But at this point, looking at how firefighters are working at every angle, again, hopefully they're getting better containment. Hopefully this remains really concentrated to where it is, because we haven't heard of any hotspots around it. It's just been pretty much at this hotel here locally. But I know everyone around the area, and for miles and miles, you can see that smoke. So a lot of people right now are saying, what is going on in East Harris County?
But the good news, Cheetah, it looks like as you were talking, the smoke continuing to dissipate.
That's
so
right.
That is a great indication that the fire's under control. And even though we're not dealing with an ember flying type situation, there could be hot spots. So I'm glad you mentioned that. We did speak with a hotel guest at a nearby place, the Villas, and that was Maya. And she did say that even though they weren't evacuated or told to step away, she said that even as close as she was, it felt like the inside of an oven. Yeah. So that's scary. That really puts things into perspective, that even though she was not inside that building and wasn't evacuated at a neighboring building, you can still feel that heat. We want to go back out to our traffic expert, Jennifer Reyna. Jennifer, we've been talking about how this is the busiest day on the roadways for people for the holiday weekend. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, we have seen it pile up here on the West Loop, some traffic in downtown right now, but obviously we're concentrating on the east, trying to get folks from here to Beaumont if right now is your go time. Of course, I-10 at Sheldon is where everyone everyone's rubbernecking on both sides of the I-10 corridor. Heads up if you are planking your way from Mont Bellevue and maybe you're like, all right, I'll ride through Baytown. We do have some delays on 146 right at 330, right where you connect before you get to the bridge to cross to 225. There are severe delays there. So just if you're incoming, if you're outbound headed toward Winnie, or maybe your final destination is toward Beaumont, you could take Market Street, but that's only going to get you so far. The feeder road right in front of the Fairfield Inn is shut down with obvious emergency crews responding to this huge fire. So you can't take the feeder road in that immediate area. They're actually routing traffic inbound and then shooting them along Sheldon. But again, for parts of the alternate route, you could take Market, or you could count on 146 if you're headed outbound. Inbound, expect the 146 delays because there's an issue working in the Baytown area. I know that Air 11 was over the scene, but I do have a TransStar shot, at least to give you a glimpse of what's happening on our ground level. All of the lanes off of I-10 are open in this area. It's just slow going because it's such a distraction for drivers. Again, revisiting that Dale camera for you, just to show you that the rubbernecking continues for about a mile in that area, costing drivers about 5 to 7 minutes. So it's nothing horrendous, but definitely something that we were tracking. This is the East Freeway near the East Sam Houston Tollway. East Beltway is open and it is free and clear. There are no problems on that particular highway, and local drive time has ramped up in from Baytown. We talked about it earlier. It was at 27 minutes. Notice the tick up here in the drive time of 34 minutes to get from Baytown into town. Most of those delays are from the East Sam Houston Tollway out toward the fire in the Channelview area. So that's going to be the latest that we know here. Over to you.
All right, Jen, it could definitely have been worse, really squeezing traffic had any of those lanes been cut off. We appreciate that. And I-10 is a very popular route to go to Lake Charles, to go to Baton Rouge, and even New Orleans. So even a 5 to 10 minute delay might make people think, hey, I'll just wait an hour or two till everything's clear.
Yeah.
So good to know traffic conditions either way.
So we now have some images of the previous fire that we were alluding to earlier, talking about earlier. This is from March 29th, when everyone inside that Fairfield Inn was evacuated after another fire. And this comes from the fire department there. Oh, look at the damage to the roof from back then. Well, no wonder the building was unoccupied. You can see it's a 3-story building, and the roof, oh wow. Geez, that's also a really bad fire. So back in March, end of March, this happened. Not sure why. I don't know if they've said why or if they've learned why. But after this fire, of course, everyone there would have had to have been evacuated, and this is why we believe that right now today, this place was not occupied at all, which it makes for a very different story. When the roof catches fire again, we're not sure how. Wow, Steph, you see that fire? That was a big fire from earlier.
It really was, but if you are just tuning in and you're wondering what's going on here, situation is under control. There was a big fire at the Fairfield Inn and Suites on the East Service Road just off the East Freeway in the eastbound lanes. The freeway is open. It's just slow, momentary slowness. Jen said about 5 to 10 minutes of a delay, just visual distraction. That should ease up any minute, but the fire is under control. We don't believe anyone was inside the building. We haven't heard of any injuries. So the situation is calming down in that area. For now, thank you for joining us. I'm Stephanie Simmons here with Jacob Rascone, Cheetah Craft, and Jennifer Reyna. We will have much more on this fire coming up for you at noon.